2022, and everybody that would like to, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance however you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's a jam-packed agenda. Let's have a roll call. I think your sound cut out there, City Clerk.
All right, my computer had a notification for tonight's meeting. I apologize. Cumby.
Here.
Gabriel.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
Eckel.
Here.
Brewster.
Here.
Here. Sorry, Pierce.
Here.
Burr.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
Okay, everyone is here. All council members are present. Thank you, City Clerk. Now we'll go to public comment on non-agenda items. Public comment on non-agenda items. Close the public comment period. I'll turn it up to Vice Mayor. Thanks, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the following change to the agenda be approved. We are moving from the consent agenda, item 9G, to the regular agenda, and it will be item number 12A.
Second.
Motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster. Those in favor of changes, the motion for the changes, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
You guys are really close on those, so same side. All right. Vice Mayor. You guys have it for a different issue?
No, just.
Oh, it was just hanging out there still.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that takes us now into item 6 for our agenda. We have a couple of proclamations. I've had a couple of council members volunteer for the readings of these, which is great. And so for this one, I'm going to turn it over to who reads this, of course, just like anybody would on behalf of our council. So thank you, Council.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest was founded in 2017 to raise awareness about Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community and their contributions to Laramie's unique, diverse tapestry in a positive and productive manner. Whereas the 6th annual Laramie Pride Fest is the most visible event in Laramie for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community, their friends, and their families to express the pride in who they are and whom they love. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest is dedicated to ensuring that Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community has a safe and inclusive environment to celebrate and honor their sexual orientations and gender identities. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest joins annual Pride celebrations across the United States and the world in commemorating June 2022 as the 53rd anniversary of the Stonewall Riots, the birthplace of the modern fight for LGBTQ+ justice and equity. Whereas LGBTQ+ citizens led by trans women of color Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera resisted police harassment that arose out of the discriminatory criminal laws that have since been declared unconstitutional during the Stonewall riots. Whereas in the 5 decades since, civil rights for the LGBTQ+ community have expanded substantially, and pride celebrations across the country and world have taken place every June to commemorate the beginning of the Stonewall riots. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest will raise awareness about Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community and their contributions to Laramie's unique, diverse tapestry in a positive and productive manner. Whereas Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community will celebrate Pride during the month of June with events happening throughout the state, including Cheyenne, Casper, Pinedale, Rock Springs, Lander, Laramie, and Jackson. Whereas Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community are living authentically today more than ever before, and they deserve to know the city of Laramie and the state of Wyoming support them. Whereas the city of Laramie celebrates its diverse LGBTQ+ community and is committed to ensuring equity for all Laramie citizens by fostering acceptance and preventing discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Whereas the city of Laramie is the only municipality in the state of Wyoming to have adopted a non-discrimination ordinance that prevents its residents from being discriminated based upon their sexual orientation and gender identity through employment, public accommodation, and housing practices. Whereas the LGBTQ+ community is a vital part of Laramie's economy and culture and contributes to a stronger city. Whereas Laramie's economy and culture are more prosperous when the civil rights of all people are equal, and we recognize the LGBTQ+ community as being vital to Laramie's success as an economically strong and culturally vibrant city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Brian Harrington, acting on behalf of Paul Weaver, the mayor and president of the governing body of the city of Laramie, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer Pride Month in Laramie, congratulate the 6th annual Laramie Pride Fest, and encourage the residents in Laramie and across the Equality State to join Laramie Pride Fest in celebration and recognition of the accomplishment, history, and legacy of Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. Appreciate that. See, we've got some folks here for accepting the proclamation, and I wonder if when you do so, you could maybe answer a couple of questions for me. These are pretty softball questions, no worries. I'm just curious about who's got the longest running official sort of Pride Fest celebration. I don't know if it's Laramie. 6 years is maybe a long time in some ways, but not. And I just wonder if we have one of the longer running ones, and if there's a community that has one that maybe predates ours, or if we know. I understand that some aspects of this are informal in some ways, and the way they're organized are informal. But I'm just a little bit curious about that. I always appreciate how we recognize that the residents of Laramie, who are really the folks that need to be recognized for the organization and the work on that non-discrimination ordinance, are the reason that we have that. It's not that the city council in its infinite wisdom saw fit to do that. It was that the residents and citizens of Laramie really worked to make that happen, and the city council at the time felt like it was a good idea. I don't know who's up first. I see we've got Mr. Galbraith here, and Naomi, who I just have to say Naomi because I don't have your last name on the screen. I'm sorry. So you're both welcome to be here, and I don't know who'd like to speak first, but you've got the floor.
Well, I'll chime in first, and just thank you so much, Mayor Weaver and Councilman Harrington. Beautiful reading job, and everyone. We just so much appreciate your support with the proclamation and throughout the year as well, not just the month of Pride. It really means more to the community than I think words could ever convey, to have your support in this manner. As far as your question, I'm going to defer to Daniel because I think he might have more information. I would agree that I think Laramie is leading the state, but I don't know those exact numbers. And if neither of us know, I think it's an excellent question, and we'll find out for sure. But yeah.
Just curious, really, more than anything.
Yeah, it's an excellent question.
I know that Wyoming Equality over in Cheyenne as an organization has existed for quite a long time, but they're not a Pride event-based safe space creating kind of organization in the same way. So it's between Casper and Laramie. But what I want to say on that note, in addition to thanking you all for this really, really hugely meaningful gesture, is that the reason Laramie is one of 3 leaders in the state is because of the support we have from this really extraordinary community. So this means a great deal to a lot of people, and I thank you for that.
I appreciate that. I wonder if you either of you would like to highlight a couple of the events, perhaps, here in this forum, and encourage people to attend. I mean, anything that they'd like to attend, but are there any particular events during this month that you'd like to highlight right now? I'd invite you to do that for us if you want to.
Naomi, would you like to take it away, or shall I?
Well, I don't have the calendar events up. I should have pulled it up before we started. But we do have events going throughout the month. I think everything sort of culminates around Pride in the Park that happens on the 25th. It's Saturday, the 25th of June. We'll start off in the morning at 10 a.m. with reading the proclamation. And we welcome anybody, of course, to all of the events, but that is a continuation of our proclamation we're reading here tonight. So it'd be great to see you there again, kicking off the day at 10 a.m. And that will follow, we'll do our march downtown. And we'll have, before then, we have some free makerspace that the UW will be working with to put together some signs and other buttons or other apparel for the march. And then the march will take a little trip to Washington Park after the march, and we'll spend the afternoon in Washington Park having Pride in the Park. So we'll have a variety of different vendors. We'll be doing some HIV testing. I know from Laramie Reproductive Health, we're going to have some amazing musicians. And Daniel, maybe you want to talk a little bit about some of the other organizations who might be there, or how people could get involved at Pride in the Park. I know we're accepting a lot of volunteers to help out with the event, but it's a big deal. And we do have, of course, calendar events all throughout the month, but everything I feel like just sort of culminates there on Saturday the 25th and makes it a real community event.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Naomi. Pride in the Park is, I like to think of it as when Laramie really shows off its support for the LGBTQ plus community, and that community shows its love for Laramie, really. It's a really wonderful sort of flagship event that's very family friendly, some really wonderful music. At last count, we have 22 organizations tabling there, so it's a great chance just to see what's going on in this really, really remarkable little corner of the world we live in. 22 might be slightly, I don't know where I'm going to fit them all, but I can't say no. There are just too many wonderful things going on, and we just want to celebrate each other. And all I would add to that is that if the proclamation reading, the march, and Pride in the Park are sort of the flagship of Laramie Pride Fest, then the heart and soul of it is the Matthew Shepard Candlelight Vigil that takes place beginning at Simpson Plaza on the 17th of June at 7 o'clock. It moves across Prexy's Pasture to the memorial bench that's been placed in front of the Arts and Sciences Auditorium. And then this year will be followed by 2 opportunities for reflection to take place in the Rainbow Resource Rooms, in the Student Union, or at St. Matthew's Cathedral, as acting in this instance as a sort of non-denominational civic hub for the community.
Thank you both very much. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the specific things while you had the moment here, and I think it's particularly important to have this proclamation read here this evening and to express this support from the City Council. It's going to be a particularly important recognition and celebration of this, given some of the things that we see happening around us that we don't necessarily have the time or space to get into this evening. But thank you very much for being here and highlighting those events for us, and we appreciate you making the time to do that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. We had another proclamation this evening, and I don't recall who had volunteered to read this one, but you're up. A better. Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City of Laramie Arbor Day celebration. Whereas this year, 2022, is the 150th anniversary of the first Arbor Day, in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas the planting of trees is a vital step in developing civic pride and a sense of community by providing an abundance of environmental advantages, including battling increasing carbon emissions and providing aesthetic advantages to citizens and wildlife wherever they are found. And whereas the state of Wyoming has designated the last Monday in April as the State Arbor Day, and all communities in Wyoming can designate their own Arbor Day based upon the climatic conditions of the community. And whereas the governing body for the city of Laramie desires to participate in the annual celebration of Arbor Day, and whereas the city of Laramie Arbor Day celebration will be held on June 7th, that's today, 2022, 9 a.m. at the Laramie Recreation Center on the north side of the gym area, where 4 Hot Wings maples will be planted. The public is invited to attend. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Laramie, do hereby proclaim June 10th, 2022 as Laramie's Arbor Day tree planting. We urge residents of Laramie to plant trees and to support our city's community forestry program. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set, the mayor has hereunto set his hand and caused the official seal of the city to be affixed this 7th day of June, 2022.
Thank you, Councilmember Cumby, and we will do that. We will do that at the earliest available opportunity. Laramie having that Tree City designation is something that I think has been kind of a point of pride for us for a long time. A lot of people pretty supportive of tree programs. We've done a lot with forestry in the community. I know a lot of the council members have been out on more than one occasion to do tree plantings when we had things happening. Folks on the city council have supported these kinds of things for many, many years. And it's great to see another positive and important proclamation come before us tonight. I saw the assistant city manager had turned on the camera, but then turned off the camera, so perhaps he didn't have anything to add. Yeah, City Clerk, please.
Here, Randy Overstreet is with us tonight, our city arborist.
Great.
But I did want to note, Mayor, I got the June 10th replaced in one place, but apparently not in the other place on that proclamation. So they are actually doing the City of Laramie Arbor Day celebration on Friday, June 10th, due to the date of the proclamation.
Still time to calendar your activities for the June 10th celebration. Mr. Overs, thank you, City Clerk, very much. And no worries about the date mix-up. Those things happen. I don't suppose we need to do anything beyond just acknowledging that it's the 10th.
I'll make sure that's correct before you sign it, Mayor. Thank you.
No, City Clerk, thank you. You're always on top of those things. Mr. Overstreet, did you want to share anything with respect to Arbor Day or anything about the city's forestry tree program? You're welcome to. You certainly don't have to. I don't know if you planned on it, but if you would like to, since you're here this evening, please do so. I don't see him jumping up and down to do that, so maybe we'll move on to the next item. And thank you, council members, for your reading of those proclamations. I always appreciate it.
Mayor, Randy was able to unmute there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Randy, Mr. Overstreet.
Yes.
Go for it. Yeah. Good to see you. Good to hear your voice. Talk to us.
Yeah, good to see you all. Thank you. Yeah, it's the 10th, this Friday. We're planting the 4 hot wings maples as stated in the proclamation. And we certainly would love to have people come out and celebrate with us and give us a hand planting those if they'd like. They're beautiful trees, and they'll be even more beautiful in the fall.
Thank you, Randy, for that. And I just have a question. Now, these trees don't produce delicious hot wings. That's just the name of the tree, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Darn. All right. And where was the location of that again? Just one more time, in case anybody checks this out later or it ends up in the paper if they want to come do that on Friday. Where are we doing that at?
It's the north side of the new gym annex at the rec center.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Great. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Input, Mr. Overstreet, and thanks for being here tonight.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. That clears out proclamations and gets us into public hearings. We have 2 public hearings this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the city clerk for the announcement of those, starting with the first one.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing on the budget for the city of Laramie, Wyoming, for all the funds for 2022 and 23 fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, and for the general fund, utility fund, solid waste fund, recreation center fund, and capital construction fund for the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, which is now being considered by the City Council of said city and will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom, at which time any and all persons interested may appear and be heard respecting such budget. All information relative to this matter is available for review at the City of Laramie City Clerk's office at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. All right, well, we'll see if we have public comments for the public hearing period, which is open. Seeing none, we'll close that public comment period for the public hearing, and we'll move on to the next one. City Clerk, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Notice is hereby given that on the 13th day of May 2022, an application was received in the office of the City Clerk for the transfer of resort liquor license number RT-2, transferring from Timberline Hospitalities LLC, doing business as Holiday Inn, to Safari Timberline Hotels LLC, located at 204 South 30th Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for a license term of June 8th, 2022 through May 7th, 2023. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on June 7th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom meeting. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present via Zoom. All information relative to this matter is available for review at the City of Laramie City Clerk's office at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming.
City Clerk. We'll see if we have any public comment, public hearing. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and move on. Thank you, City Clerk, for the public hearing notices on those. We will go to announcements and see if we have any announcements.
Good evening, Mayor. This is the City Manager. There are no announcements this evening.
Good evening to you as well, City Manager. Okay, no problem. Bill. Rolling. Item number 7, disclosures by City Council members. Are there any council members that wish to disclose any conflicts with any of the items coming forward before the council this evening? Seeing takes us to the next item, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
It's a motion and a second from Councilor Harrington. Roll call vote. City Clerk.
B. B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Fiscal.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Burr.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
The consent agenda has been approved. Thank you, City Clerk. That takes us to item number 10, the opening of the regular agenda, and right into item number 11, which was Councilmember Schuster, was it not? Councilmember Schuster?
Thank you very much. The title, Resolution 2022-35, Budget Amendments for the Fiscal Year 2021 and 2022. I move to approve Resolution 2022-35, transferring unencumbered or unexpected appropriation balances from one fund to another and amending appropriations for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022 annual budget of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second from Vice Mayor Pierce. And I think we've got Director Wade. Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Councilors. I have the pleasure of presenting for your consideration this evening an amendment to the fiscal year 2022 budget. Staff are recommending a reduction of $583,057 this evening. Of this amount, $471,325 is for a reappropriation of funds. We're recommending $31,833 in increases to the budget that you have not already approved through formal action, as well as a reduction of $2,635,000 that you have not approved. Most of those changes relate to capital planning for the next biennium. The recommended amendment in the governmental funds is $1,191,038, and we are recommending a reduction in the enterprise funds of $1,774,095. Most of this evening's amendment will impact cash reserves. In the few instances where that is not the case, I will call it out in the detail. And just like normal practice, I will actually disclose to you each of the items that council has not already approved, and I will try to get through that as efficiently as possible this evening. In the general fund, in the city clerk's division, we're recommending a $25,000 reduction because the project proposed for bidding and proposal management software is no longer necessary. It will be rolled in to the city's ERP project. In the general accounts division in the general fund, we're recommending a $5,000 increase for Freedom Has a Birthday activities, offset by a grant, a contribution from Rocky Mountain Power, as well as a $10,000 increase to transfer funds originally appropriated for public art from the general fund to the specific purpose tax fund for a fire training tower art installation. In the Public Works Administration division, we're recommending an increase of $2,380 to fund a one-time performance-based stipend. And in the engineering division, we're recommending a reduction of the same amount to transfer funding for that stipend. Additionally, in the engineering division, we're recommending a $4,453 increase for repairs to an engineering division vehicle, which will be offset by insurance claim revenue. And wrapping up the general fund in the recreation division, we're recommending a $10,000 decrease to transfer funding to the SPT fund for the public art installation at the fire training tower. In the recreation center fund, we're recommending a $20,000 increase for exercise equipment that will be funded by a rebudget from the prior year. We just simply need to carry it forward because the delivery was delayed. And in the 2018 SPT fund, we're recommending a reduction of $75,000 and $250,000 to change our project schedule based on our work planning for the 23-24 biennium. Additionally, in the SPT fund, we're recommending a $10,000 increase for that public art installation at the fire training tower. And you hear me repeating that a lot. That's because we need to move money between general fund divisions and get it to the SPT fund. And so that's why you hear me repeating that particular item 3 times now. In the water fund, we are recommending a $275,000 decrease to adjust our project schedule. And in the wastewater fund, we're recommending a $2 million decrease to reduce the budget for the B2 sewer line replacement, because that budget is actually inflated. When the council appropriated ARPA funding in the fall, that action was accompanied by a budget amendment, and this project actually didn't need an amendment. It is simply funded by ARPA funds now, and so this is a correction to that budget action. And wrapping up our amendments this evening in the solid waste fund, we're recommending a reappropriation of $451,325 for a collection truck that was ordered in fiscal year 2021 that just arrived at the city this last month. And with that summary and detail, I will open up for questions.
Thank you very much, Director Wade. A little echo on my microphone there. I don't know what's going on. Any questions about this this breakdown, or why you heard about the same thing a few times? Although I think the director addressed that for us well. All right. I don't see any further questions, so we'll see if there's a public comment on this, and we'll go back and we'll vote on the item. Seeing none, we'll close public comment for this item. We'll go back. Last chance for this first time to ask Director Wade any questions. Seeing none, we'll go to the city clerk for roll call vote. I think we've lost your sound, City Clerk. Sorry.
Better?
There it is.
Yeah, okay. Cumbie,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Eckel,
Yes.
Brewster,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
That motion carries. Thank you, Council. Thank you, City Clerk. Take us now into the next item.
It is me again.
12, which is Councilor Schuster again.
Thank you very much. Our next one is titled Resolution 20-22-36, adopting the fiscal year 2023 FY 2024 Biennium Budget and Appropriations. I recommend the council move to approve Resolution 2022-36, making the appropriations and authorizing expenditures of funds to cover expenditures of the City of Laramie, Wyoming for all funds for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, and for the General Fund, Utility Fund, Recreation Center Fund, Solid Waste Fund, Capital Construction Fund, and fiscal year of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2024, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Pierce. Director Wade, thank you. Welcome back. Go ahead.
I'll offer a brief introduction to the motion this evening, and then COO Brown has some information to share with the council as well. And so, as required by state statute, the city manager prepared and filed with the city council prior to May 15th a tentative city budget, together with a budget message and explanation of the budget for all funds for the fiscal year 2023 year, and for the General Fund, Utility Fund, Recreation Center Fund, Solid Waste Fund, and Capital Construction Fund for fiscal year 2024. City of Laramie staff and the council held 2 capital budget work sessions on April 12th and 26th, with a special meeting on the capital budget on May the 10th. Additionally, staff and the council held 2 work sessions on the recommended budget on May 10th and 11th, with a special meeting held on May the 24th. Notice of public hearing on the budget, together with a summary of the budget and required notices concerning mill levy and expenditures, was published in the Laramie Boomerang on May 29th and June 2nd. And we provide the summary so that you know we have met our statutorily required deadlines, and just to provide the public or anyone who may be listening with our budget schedule so they know the work that has been done to this time. I would also like to note that there were no changes made to the recommended budget by staff other than those specifically disclosed to the council at the budget special meetings. And so the recommended budget plus the changes approved by the council are what was published in the public notice. We would like to let the council know that we are expecting to do a budget amendment for the health insurance fund in fiscal year 2023, because the actual rates required for health insurance are exceeding our initial projections. And COO Brown is here to talk to us this evening a little bit more about that.
Good evening, Council. We have been looking and tracking the health insurance fund, and when we did the initial projection, the fund did not look as poorly as it is now. We have lost $800,000 in fund balance probably through the end of the year, which has dropped our health insurance fund down. In order to, I met with the city manager today, and we have made a decision that we're probably going to have the claims increase by 7% so that we can give this fund some boost on our fund balance. And it's, I think it also balances people's rates pretty well. So it'll probably be an amendment in the next quarter. We're probably going to bring an amendment. It's probably going to be between 150 to 200,000 added to our health insurance fund to help fund this this fund balance. And what is going on is a lot of the in the health insurance fund, a lot of times the fund will go down, but it's covered by stop loss. So we have stop loss insurance where any claim, a big claim over $100,000, the fund gets back anything that's spent on those claims. But what we're seeing is that there was a lot of not that high of claims, but a lot of work, a lot of health medical bills that were not that much, and we're having to take out of our internal service fund. So that's not the typical norm, but we believe that that's probably the norm going forward. And so Janine and I met today, the city manager and I met today, and we made this decision, and we just wanted to let you know that we'll bring forth the amendment in the next quarter. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Looks like we have some questions. Councilmember Harrington.
Thanks, Mayor. COO Brown, I'm curious if this is that drop in the fund balance, is that sort of like maybe the last year that we have seen that? Is that the right time frame?
Yeah, it's in 22. I mean, it's in this 22 year through the year. Last year, we had a $200,000 increase in our fund balance. So it's just this year's claims.
And I was wondering, I guess maybe the reason for that question was that, and I think you maybe hinted at it, was certainly I think a lot of companies have watched, sort of like nobody claimed during the pandemic, unless of course they really needed it. And then a bunch of sort of more routine medical procedures and things of that sort were occurring afterwards.
Yes.
So I'll be interested to see, I think obviously this makes sense, but I think I'll be interested to see if it stays at this sort of need for an influx or whether it drops back down. Thanks, Mayor.
You bet. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Authority.
It's actually a comment. Is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to really thank the staff for making it so digestible, the budget, and just the way you presented to us. It all makes sense, and I can't imagine the work that goes into it. So I appreciate the whole team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Authority. And you've heard us make some comments about this before, finance people, but it's because it is very much appreciated. And I think the other thing that needs to be recognized by the council is that when it's easy for us to look at these things, I think we can probably have a good understanding that it's easier for members of the public to look this stuff up, and it's more digestible for them too, which ultimately is perhaps even more important. No, not perhaps, is more important, because we can, ask the staff when we don't understand things, that same accessibility is there, but maybe not on the same day-to-day basis for members of the public. So when it's designed and presented in this digestible format, I think it can help us feel a little bit better about people being able to access these documents and determine it for themselves. And yeah, we do appreciate it, and we do recognize that it's a ton of work. It's just important for us to acknowledge that. That's all. And appreciate the kind of forecast about the upcoming issue from CEO Brown. These things are going on. We need to be, flexible in dealing with them, and we'll see what else there is to say about it and what other information there is about it in the upcoming adjustments. Any other questions for the staff folks here? For Director Wade, was she still with us? We've seen a lot of Director Wade lately, but it might be a little while before after the next couple of meetings before she's with us quite as often. I don't know. I'm not much of a forecaster. I could be wrong about that, Director. Okay, I don't see any questions. I guess we'll see if there's a public comment, and then we'll come back to the council for a vote. Not any public comment that I can see, so we'll close the public comment period on this council one more time. Just check with you if you had any further questions or comments. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
You all hear me?
Yeah.
No, I think you called me out. Did you? Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
Thank you. Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Easter.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Ver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk and Council. That motion carries. City Clerk, I think what's going on is with your microphone is it's just when you first start speaking to us, it takes a second for it to kind of pick up and transmit to us. Other than that, I'm not having any trouble hearing you. So.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a computer replacement recently, and I don't know if that's affecting it or what. So I appreciate the input.
I think it's just giving you just a tiny little bit of like a half second of delay as you start speaking, and then after that it picks up pretty good. So just if that helps you or not, I don't know, but that seems to be what's going on. All right. That motion carried, and we are now moving on to item 12A, isn't it? And I don't remember, is it Councilmember Harrington? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the Laramie City Council approve the fee-for-service agreement between the City of Laramie and the Laramie Public Art Coalition, providing the working framework for public art projects, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Second from the Vice Mayor. And we will turn it over for background to Assistant City Manager Beazer. Thanks.
Honorable Mayor, City Councilor, thank you for having me here tonight. The purpose of this agreement is to continue the partnership that we've established with the Laramie Public Art Coalition. We've actually been through 3 different directors, and right now we're under Laura McDermott, and it's been a fantastic relationship with Laura. Basically, this sets the framework that we are able to use Laramie Public Art Coalition to help implement the City of Laramie's adopted public art plan, managing the best management practices for the implementation of public art. It basically works in 2 forms. First off, for projects that come along with construction projects similar to the Snowy Range Road Bridge or the upcoming Laramie Municipal Operations Center landscape project, we can enter into separate agreements with the Laramie Public Art Coalition for the acquisition of art. And basically what it entails is that they lead the process. They work through the public process, set up committees, do the call for art, work on the implementation, and help us get to that point, and really lift a lot of the legwork out of the front off of it. The second part of this talks to a $25,000 amount that's been contributed to the Parks and Recreation budget that is for Laramie, is for public art. And what it does, it allows the Laramie Public Art Coalition to access those funds, or to access them under the use of what we're doing in city projects. We recently, just in an item before, we transferred $10,000 of that money to firework that's going to go out at the to fireworks. It's not fireworks, to artwork that's going to be at the Laramie Fire Training Facility. And it's actually artwork that went out for a public call. It just so happens that one of our own firemen received that award, and it's called the Virtual Firefighter, and going to be placed out there. And we're using that funding in that source. So we're limited to $25,000 in our budget to spend towards public art. Other items that have been used in that have been the Front Porch Music Series. I'm not sure how many of you remember that before the COVID, and then some other Gym City Nights. This year they're looking to do a wheat paste project in downtown and some stuff with Jubilee Days, and utilize some of that funding just to continue to increase public art as we move forward. With that being said, I can answer any questions that you may have related to this agreement.
All right, I do have some questions, and I think Assistant City Manager, it sounds like you're getting excited about the upcoming 4th of July projects with the fireworks. We're not quite there yet. All right, I had hands up. I don't know who was first. I'm going to go to Councilmember Schuster, and then I'll go to Councilmember Harrington.
Councilmember Harrington was first, but I'll just do a quickie. I had it on my computer, but I was unable to open it, so it was more of a curiosity factor than anything else. I do support it, but that's all I have to say. But I couldn't get it open, so I had to ask questions. I thought this was the easiest way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schuster. Any other? Well, I'll go to Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. I was curious if the Assistant City Manager could tell me, I think in a conversation you and I had with Laura McDermott, the part and the Main Street Director, we as we were working through that new park project downtown, was this the funding that was used for? Do you know? I think it is the funding that was used for LPAC's portion of that new sort of what was Hollyhock Commons, but now will become an even more exciting opportunity, I think. Curious if that's the same funding.
Through you, Mayor, to Councilor Harrington. Councilor Harrington, I agree with you. It's a new and more exciting implementation of Hollyhock. Of course, kind of my idea, my brainchild. I hope it turns out right, exactly. But yes, this is a portion of their art that was in the last fiscal year that was already approved under the previous agreement. So yeah, that's going to be used to help assist, I believe, with the artwork that's going on the side of the Vision Clinic and other parts of the project that are coming in with that.
And Mr. Mayor, I would just add to that. Thank you, Todd. I do very excited for this project. So I think it's going to be terrific. I would add, though, that this was a project that the scope and maybe the cost of that, with everything inflating, ended up being a little bit too much for just the city alone to bear. So it did take these partnerships and these sort of like extra bits of funding from throughout our partner agencies. It did take that to make this this project work. So you know, I see this as crucial to a project like this. Part of it will be assigned to Gem City Nights, which will be a concert series in downtown throughout the summer. All of these sort of projects, I think, are critical. And I think these investments in art infrastructure, we make our money back. If I give you a number, if I say tenfold, it's made up. So I'm not going to give you that, but we will make our money back with a more vital arts infrastructure. And I think, you know, Councilor Smeckel can speak more to the numbers, so I'm not even going to waste your time. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. Heard you loud and clear. There's a return. There's a return. And I hope everyone heard loud and clear that the Assistant City Manager is ready to take credit and for the success or failure of these things, and he's ready and willing. But you know, that comment, it made me chuckle a little bit because I think it was offered in good spirit. But I also wonder, Assistant City Manager Fieser, when it comes to work that we do with the LPAC committee, what's the best way for the public to provide input and feedback on Laramie Public Art projects? Because we get that sometimes about the various installations and things like that. And I'm always happy to read those, but it's not really the council that's picking and deciding what goes into these public art projects, right? That's in fact why we have a public art plan and why we have a public art committee. So I wonder if you could just address that really quickly. And council members that are waiting, thank you for letting me ask this question, because I think this is important. We get those emails sometimes about, you know, where did this come from and what's going on with it? And I wonder if you might just address that, since we've brought this onto the regular agenda to have this conversation. I think this is something that we should address as part of it.
And I kind of see, I think Councilor Harrington has some to add, but I think by getting involved through their website if you Google Laramie Public Art Coalition, you can get a lot of knowledge and get some updates on what they have going, and then volunteer to be part of the selection committees. They do advertise in the paper and online and through Facebook of the different calls and the different committees, what they've got going on. And they really do a great job encouraging public support. But I think oftentimes, Mayor, what you're speaking to is that inability to find out what the right way is to reach everybody right now. And it's just communication this day and age. We've all seen it is very difficult. You know, not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's, some people are reading the newspaper. Some people are listening to the radio. And to tell you the truth, as an organization, we all feel a little lost on how to communicate publicly to make sure everybody has all the information they want. And although I feel like I do a great job, sometimes I don't, especially when I read my failed release on Washington Park yesterday that had 4 typos and was terrible, and I had to correct 7 times. But you know, I just, they do a great job. I'm able to follow with them, and maybe because I'm on the inside, but I do know they have a large public presence, and they're open to all sorts of people serving on committees, because public arts value, it's a conversation creator, and it's important to have as many people involved in the selection as we can.
Appreciate that information, Councilmember Fieser. A couple things I want to touch on. First of all, mistakes are human. That's how it goes as far as releases. And I think folks can be understanding of that. The reason I brought this up, and you touched on it, it's almost that there's so many avenues through which to channel information that sometimes it's hard to know what are the most successful. And we may be having a perception at the city level, and I think certainly the various community organizations and agencies that exist in Laramie beyond, you know, just the city and the local government, the county and local government. You might think one one thing is really working, and it probably is for one audience, but other interested people that might be in a different demographic may not be tapping into that. So I think that's a universal challenge for organizations, but I appreciate that you touched on that. And hopefully people will be able to start to utilize the website and some of the other tools so that they can get involved at the early stages of these projects. And when feedback comes after the fact, positive or negative, certainly it's probably more of an issue when it's a negative feedback, to explain to people the process that got you there. The positive feedback that can come whenever. So I think it's important. I think it's just important to stay engaged with the public, since this is one of our fee-for-service partners at the city. Yes, we're interested in that feedback, but the way to get in and work at the committee and planning level is through the public art group, as opposed to the city. I think that needs some emphasis. So thank you, Councilmember Schmeckel. Thanks for waiting.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councilmember Harrington for opening the door for me to step onto my favorite soapbox. I will share that I'm up here in Lander this evening because I'm on a Wyoming Humanities Board meeting to give some idea of the scope of the arts economy in Wyoming and how that affects Laramie. There is a U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis report that was done in 2014. This is cited in the Endow report, page 108, if memory comes to mind, that said that in 2014, there were 11,451 jobs in the arts and cultural sector in Wyoming. And this leads to $17 to $23 million in sales tax revenue. And for every additional sales in the creative and cultural sector, an additional 44 cents are generated in the economy from other businesses. So this is really one of the most cost-effective forms of economic development that we can do. I think it's also really important to create a culture of innovation and creativity as we're trying to ensure that our young people, who we've spent so much money trying to educate through our K-12 system and hopefully beyond, before they do out-migration out of Wyoming. I think this is a very important tool for that, so we can preserve that investment that we've made in our people. And I really appreciate that Laramie City Council is supporting LPAC in the efforts that they're doing in developing in our community.
Thank you. Other comments or questions around this topic? Okay. Well, we'll see if there's public comment. Seeing none, back to you, Council, for any last additions or questions you might have. One thing to note is our partnership around public art is not old in Laramie. Having this formalized process and putting this together has come along, I think it's fair to say, really in the last six years or so, and it's still developing. I think a major development is the ability to have a full-time director, and that's huge. And again, the community has really stepped up and showed where its priorities and values are through providing resources. And that includes the city council, but also includes a lot of other partners as well. And when the city council does it, it's simply a reflection of where we think our constituents are at. And call the development of the public art plan, it had a lot of input and was developed with a lot of input from the community and community members. And, when we're about ready to do a fee-for-service agreement, I think it's okay to point those things out and provide a little bit of that history. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll go to see for a roll call vote.
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Authority.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. And Council, that motion carries. All right. That takes us now to item number 13. Council, here's where I need your help. I don't remember to next this one. Who's got item number 13?
I do.
Councilmember Cumby. Thank you. Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Title, award a bid for the B2 line replacement Spring Creek. I move to award the bid for B2 line replacement Spring Creek, Corthell to 9th Street, to Simon Contractors, Laramie, Wyoming, in the amount of $515,575, along with contingency of $51,557.50, for a total amount not to exceed $567,132.50, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Brewster. And see, we've got Mr. Webb here. Welcome back, Mr. Webb.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. The B2 line replacement is the sewer line. We went out to bid on April 5th to replace that line. It is currently through the section of from Corthell to 19th Street. It's actually between 18th and 19th. So you might want to, I don't know, 18 and a half maybe, but we're calling it to 19th Street. The sewer line through there is one, undersized. We have kind of a bottleneck in there, and then it's also in very poor condition. So we went out to bid on the project, and we actually, the original design and bid was from Corthell all the way to 9th Street. The low bid came in 75% over the engineering cost estimate. So our engineering and utility staff really worked hard to identify the biggest needs within that line for right now, and that is the section between Corthell and 19th. So we then worked with the contractor to scope down the project, which is what you see now at $515,575, and we're recommending to do that portion of the project at this point and move forward. The remaining portion of the project is designed, and we will keep planned for the future. Hopefully when some costs come down. There's not an immediate demand for that upsizing from 19th to 9th at this point in time. More with the future development that may occur in the Bill Nye, when the new Bill Nye comes through. So we've got a few years yet till we need to do that next portion. But this portion right here, again, undersized and pipe in very poor condition.
Thank you for that. Let's go to Councilmember Authority.
I was getting confused. This is really indeed Corthell to 9th and not 19th, right? Because of the scope was too expensive, right?
Yeah, so Councilor O'Doherty, through you, Mayor, the name of the project is Corthell to 9th, and that's what was designed and bid. But we rescoped down Corthell to 19th is what we're actually going to do, is what we're actually recommending, because that's where the big problem area is. And the future from 19th to 9th, we'll keep on the books and bid that at a later date.
Councilmember Authority.
I just wanted to make sure the language was right in the motion. Thank you. Looks like it is.
Appreciate that, Councilmember Authority. Any other questions from Ms. Webb on this one? A quick one for you, which is just this. Because of the way you kind of gave us the background on this, it just made me think about this question. If we're updating this critical part of it, And we're feeling, based on the engineers' assessments and public works technical assessments, that this is the high demand piece that needs to be addressed immediately. The rest of this we can probably manage a little more deferral with the project until we're better able to find the fiscal resources for it. I just want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for a bigger, more problematic project down the road by doing one piece of this that's maybe, I think he said, undersized. That's not setting ourselves up for a bigger problem down the road. I assume you wouldn't be bringing that forward with that recommendation from staff and engineering, but it does generate that question in my mind. Okay, we get one piece of this taken care of. How does that set us up in terms of what we're going to have to deal with? Is it just this section where we're really living with those problems of undersize and things like that, and some of these other parts of this project down the road aren't really presenting the same kind of challenges for us, and so that's why we can prioritize it this way? Or can you just maybe fill me in a little bit more on that?
Yeah, that's correct, Mayor. I mean, the current issue is right here between Corthell and 19th. From 19th to 9th, that upsizing needs to occur in front of future development that occurs out in the Bill Nye area. That's what that was intended to do. So when the Bill Nye comes through, we're anticipating there's going to be more development in that issue or in that area. But we know that's some years away. So, but we've got to address what's really an issue right now, which is this section. But in the future, we will need to come back and do that next section before development really starts to go in that Bill Nye area.
I really appreciate the extra on that. I hope you understood why I wanted to touch on it a little bit more. I'm going to go to Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brooks, you may have said this, but I missed it. Where is the B2 line is it under Spring Creek Road?
That's a good question, Councilor Harrington, through you, Mayor. It's actually not. It's on the south side of Spring Creek. We have an easement there through, there's kind of a berm on the south side, like an alley. It's actually right there. And so this project shouldn't affect traffic. It won't be in the roadway. It'll be on the south side of Spring Creek there's kind of a dirt 2-track through there.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions on this project? Appreciate the questions and the extra answers. Let's see if we've got any public comment on this one. Public comment on this item. Seeing none. We'll go back. Council, anything for Mr. Webb? All right, seeing no further discussion. City Clerk, may we please have the roll call for the vote?
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Nickel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk, and that motion carries. Thank you, Council. It takes us to the next item on our agenda, item number 14. Who has item number 14? Who is bringing forward item?
I've got that, Mayor. Gabriel.
Thank you, Councilmember Gabriel.
This is an amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement with Sunrise Engineering for construction services on the B2 line replacement, Spring Creek, Corthell to 9th project. I move to approve amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement with Sunrise Engineering for construction services on the B2 line replacement, Spring Creek, Corthell to 9th project, in the amount of $67,700 and a contingency of $6,800 for a total of $74,500, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
That's a second from the vice mayor. Thank you. Mr. Webb.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council. As I mentioned previously, Sunrise Engineering is the firm that designed the B2 project, and we're recommending at this point that they be awarded an amendment to their current contract to do the construction services, construction administration on that job.
Makes sense to me. Discussion, questions? Following the format, we'll see if there's public comment on the item. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period, go back to the council just quickly, although I think we kind of had the detailed breakdown of this in the previous item. Any further questions or comments? I'll make this comment. We keep seeing these economic impacts on our city projects, and some of them we have been fortunate to have staff that's been diligent about trying to manage those for us, and in some places they've been able to do that, and in some places they've had to make these kinds of adjustments and bring them back to us. And I guess my comment is I'm glad we're able to at least see ourselves in a situation where we can prioritize pieces of projects and get the the important priority parts of it done, and keep moving forward. But it continues to be a concern. I think the council's just sort of made a commitment to acknowledge and address that every time it comes up and before the council. I think it's important. These inflationary impacts are probably not going away anytime super soon, unfortunately for us, and we're just going to have to continue to kind of build that into our planning and expectations, and ask the public to be patient and sort of build that into their expectations around what we're able to do also. I just think it's important to have that said when we look at these projects. All right, City Clerk, can we have the roll call for the vote, please?
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Authority.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Council. That motion carries for that amendment. We've got another item coming up now, which is item number 15. Council, who's bringing forward item number 15 for consideration? Thank you, Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2022-30, authorizing submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board for a loan through the State Revolving Fund, requesting an additional $6 million for a total loan of $10,356,000 to support construction of the Northside Tank Project, loan number DW-193, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Second motion, and then a second from Councilmember Schuster. And so turn it over, Mr. Webb.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Northside Tank Project, you've heard about for many, many years. This has been under design, I believe, since 2017. We got design completed. We went out to bid, and $6 million over. This is the most important #1 priority water project in this entire city. This project allows for future development on the north side of town, and also helps the capacity of the water system really citywide. This project is the first project that must be completed in an array of projects that follow. Very important projects. After we got these bids in, we were stunned and heartbroken. But we talked internally. I talked with Malia. We went round and round. I know she's talked with the city manager. And at this point, we believe we need to move forward with the project because of its importance. The Wyoming Water Development agency has $8 million grant in on this project. That's how important they think it is. And so they're really hoping that we can move forward and get the funding to do the project. SRF SLID board has also shown their support for the project. I think everybody understands the importance of the project. So at this point, to get it funded, we're planning on, with your approval, a $6 million application to the State Loan Investment Board. We will be asking for principal forgiveness and or a lower interest rate on that $6 million. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to field them. And it looks like Malia's here too. She can help out with more of the long-term financial stuff.
Thank you. And I think the council agrees completely with the way you described the reaction. I mean, and you've talked to us. This isn't the first we've kind of had notification to be ready for this. COO Brown, how can the council best help with this moving forward? I know it's not always the easiest thing in the world for the city to need to go again to state partner funding, but please share with us anything.
Yes,
like
Mayor, I think that this funding, since we can go for extra funding, the rates are pretty low at the state, and I think it's probably the best financial move is to go get the loan. I did talk, we are going to bring the Simon's proposal for the North Tank next week for adoption. And so this is going to be, because that's the last week, it has to, otherwise the bid's no good, it runs out. So we will be doing that. And I did talk to the finance committee, and I think they're in agreement with us moving forward. So if we don't get this loan, which I believe there's a high likelihood of getting the loan, we'll fund it through enterprise funds. And we do have other options for financing of future projects that I have talked to the finance committee. It wouldn't be this project, it'd be for the projects we'll be taking the money from the enterprise funds, maybe doing some lease purchases and some financing. So it is risk, but I believe that I have some ideas that I did share with the finance committee. I don't know if I need to go through that because that's not what we're doing right now. We're literally just going to go get this loan, and I believe that the rates can support what the loan that we have. So that's where I'm at, and I think it was the best solution. Otherwise, you're looking at maybe to 2 to 3 million, up to 4 million more for this project, and then how would we fund it? So I just wanted to state that, you know, I'm really recommending this to go forth, and also that next week, next council regular agenda, that we will have the Simons contract on there to award the North Tank. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Really appreciate that background, and you know, I think you're right. We can kind of maybe touch on the rest of that other discussion about alternative funding when we get to that at a later point, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about this loan and see, you know, if there was anything else we needed to go over. I see we've got some hands up. I'm going to go to Councilmember Schuster. He's first, and then I'll go to Councilmember Authority.
Thank you very much. Being on the finance committee, we called an emergency meeting. We talked about this, and contractors right now, I don't want to say they're not going nuts, but the whole contract society everywhere in the United States trying to find a contractor, trying to hold on to a contractor, trying to get supplies and everything else is outrageous right now. So I do recommend we go with this now, because if we don't, it is going to cost us a lot more, and we won't even get started on it this year. So I'm urging everyone to please support this. I know it's a lot more than what we expected to pay, but it's if we don't do it, we're going to be in trouble. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Schuster. Councilmember Authority.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. If I read this right, this is really federal money. I think that COO Brown mentioned that before. So I just want to point out, we hear a lot of complaints about the EPA. This looks like it's all EPA money. Am I correct?
Yeah, Councilor Doherty, through you, Mayor. SRF is federal money from the EPA passed down to the states.
Thank you. I think that's worth noting. Thank you.
Point taken, Councilmember Authority. Any other comments or questions from the council on this? We're going to go to public comment, see if there is any real quick here. Let's see if there's public comment. Seeing none. Go back to the council. Councilmember Authority, let me just agree and echo your comments previously about these pass-through dollars and the availability of them and how they help local governments all over this state and all over the country. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go to the I want to thank Mr. Webb for all the background that he gave us on these projects. And, I won't repeat what I said earlier about needing to be flexible for the funding of these. And certainly we're gonna listen to CEO Brown when she tells us about what she's recommending. So I appreciate the work, the continued work on the way to fund these projects. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Eckel,
Yes.
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Council. That motion carries. Everybody feeling nice and cheery after that. Those happy items that we just had to hear about. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on now, and we're going to go to item number 16. And Council, I need your help. Who is bringing item number 16 forward?
Mayor, that's my item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, I move to approve the application to transfer resort liquor license number RT-2 from Timberline Hospitalities, LLC to Safari Timberline Hotels, LLC, DBA Holiday Inn Laramie, located at 204 South 30th Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term June 8, 2022 through May 7, 2023, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
The motion and the second from Councilmember Authority. City Clerk, do you have any additional background for us you would like to provide? And I see that we've got a representative from Safari Hospitality here, and I hope it's Ms. Pummel. Okay, good, I got it right. City Clerk, anything you'd like to add for us via background on this before we go to the applicant?
Mayor, this is just taking the existing liquor license that exists at the resort, Holiday Inn, and transferring it from one entity to the new entity, Safari Timberline Hotels, LLC. They have informed me that they've retained a lot of the staff that they had under the previous entity. So a lot of our tips trained servers that they previously had exist under the new licensee. So just wanted to note that for you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And as you noted, Mayor, Ms. Pummel is here with us this evening.
City Clerk, thank you. That's exactly the kind of background I was hoping you could provide us. Any questions for the City Clerk before we go to Ms. Pummel? Right. Well, welcome, Ms. Pummel. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about what's going on here and the transfer and things that are happening? If you'd like to, please do so. You've got the floor.
Well, thank you. It's exciting times for Timberline Hospitality. We had 9 hotels around the state of Wyoming. And now, since Timberline has retired, effective May 24th, and we have 37 hotels, 11 of those are from Wyoming with Safari, and they're in 5 states, and we employ over 1,000 employees. So we're excited for this transaction to have happened, and we hope to be of service to all of you in the future.
I appreciate that very much. Any questions? Any questions on this transfer? All right. Seeing none, we will see if there's a public comment on the item. Seeing none, go back to the council one more time for any questions for the applicant or for our city clerk. I want to thank you for taking time to be here, Ms. Pummel, this evening to share that piece of information with us. We do appreciate you taking the time to do so, and we're happy to hear about the future business prospects.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
Yes. I'm not hearing the name at all. I'm sorry, but I think I wasn't looking at your face.
To figure out what's going on with my camera. So, Cumby.
Yes.
Real.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Authority.
Yes.
Fiscal.
Yes.
Brewster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Council. That motion carries. Congratulations. Good luck. And we will now move on to the next.
Mayor, could we propose a budget amendment for the clerk's microphone?
I think that is in order. But I think Councilmember Gabriel, what the city clerk has told us a little bit ago was, I think it's a new piece of equipment.
I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's trying awfully hard.
Yeah, and it's working okay. It's that, honestly, and I think you saw the council agree with me, that it's the strange issue where there's sort of like a second or two delay after you start, and then it picks up. So what Councilor Cumby, being the first on the roll call, isn't hearing it when you start the roll call. But so anyway, but I agree with Councilmember Gabriel. If need be, we will get a new microphone or headset for the city clerk. All right. Let's see. 7:57. We're doing well, council members, with our agenda this evening. The next item is number 17, which we've had a lot of previous discussion about, and we've got Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2022-24A, renewal of the general purpose optional 1% county sales tax, the fifth penny, in Albany County, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Harrington that time. You've had the motion and your second from Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Schmeckel.
Perfect. Mayor, in light of our recent joint meeting with the City of Rock River and the Albany County and our expected concurrence with those two communities' councils, we do expect, or I move to amend by substitution Resolution 2024-24A with Resolution 2022-24C.
Second.
There's a motion and a second from Councilor Somerville. And I'm going to go to Councilmember Authority, who's raised her hand for recognition.
I would, for the public, all of the public that are out there, I think it would be nice to encapsulate what this says, that we are with the ballot, what we're asking to put on the ballot. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Councilmember Authority. And if not for right now, if people watch the meeting and the meeting is reported on later, which it likely will be, I think that's a good idea. Who wants to begin that part of the discussion? Do we have staff that would like to begin it? Yeah, I'm going to recognize the city attorney. Welcome. City attorney. we saw you starting for us, but we didn't hear you.
That was deliberate, Your Honor. What has just been moved to be substituted is a resolution drafted by the county clerk and the county attorney. As you can see, what it does is put the city of Laramie on board with Rock River and the county commissioners to have on the ballot 2 propositions. One proposition is asking for approval of the extension of the 5th penny tax for 4 years. And the second proposition is asking for the approval of a 5th penny permanently. I think the only thing to add, I mean, you've discussed this a lot at a couple of meetings and with your joint meetings with those 2 governmental entities. I think the only thing to add, there was one question that was asked about undervotes. Undervotes do not apply in this situation. It is a majority of the electors voting on each proposition. So if 3 people vote on one of these propositions and 2 of them say yes, then that proposition passes. Undervotes only count when we're doing an amendment to the state constitution or there's a state referendum on the ballot, statewide referendum on the ballot. So that's what I know.
Thank you, City Attorney. Appreciate that. And yeah, I appreciate you following back up with us about that issue of undervotes that we raised the last time we talked about this. Looks like we've got a couple of questions. We start with Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. One of the biggest questions, somebody says, are you adding a new tax? And the answer is no, we are not adding a new tax. Just like our city attorney said, there will be 2 things on the ballot. And what we have done, and this has been on since I've been on council, so I know it's been on 20 years at least, that we are asking to continue an existing 1 penny of the 6 cents that is taken in taxes in to help support the city of Laramie. The 2 different questions on there is, do you want to approve it for another 4 years? Or would you like to not to have to bother you every 4 years and make it permanent? So whichever way the public goes, I will support them 100%. It's very vital to us, so I hope people continue to support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Schuster, for all those comments. We'll go to Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I will just add that I know that our friends over in Sweetwater County were able to implement something fairly similar here several years ago. In fact, they voiced surprise that we hadn't already done this. They find it incredibly supportive of their efforts over there, and the community does not seem to notice a difference.
Thank you, Councilmember Schmeckel. As a former resident of that county, I feel obligated to weigh in on that as well. Quite some time ago, I believe this was put into place. Let's go to Councilmember.
I just want to mention to, again, the massive numbers of people in the audience that if a person wants to extend this tax, they'll probably want to vote for both of them just in case the permanent doesn't pass. We're not saying it's forever or infinity plus 4, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to see if there's any other questions or comments here. I think it's worth pointing out that issue again. It's going to be really important for people when they vote on this, that if you support those services, that there's 2 ways to do this. You could renew it for the shorter time period, or you can put it in place going forward. And I think if you ask the local government folks in the town of Rock River, or the county commissioners, and I think we can say pretty safely here, as we just heard from council members Schuster and Schmeckel, this is an essential penny. It's not a new tax. It's been at least 20 years, if not longer, that we've needed this every 4 years, and it's the basic government services. It's a strange artifact of the process that both the 4-year question and the permanency question have to be on the same ballot, but the legal folks have looked into that. They've done all the research and homework on that. That's the way we understand it needs to be. I see that the Vice Mayor's seeking recognition.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This community has been approving this particular 5th cent for 40 years. 40 years. Thanks.
So, thank you, Vice Mayor. So, 40 years of approval for this, and I think it's unlikely that the local governments are going to be able to plan and budget around not having this, whether it's approved for 4 years or moving forward. And City Attorney, I just want to make sure that we've done this correctly and we've understood you correctly as we move forward in this process. Both of those questions have to come forward on the ballot this way. There's just no other way to do it. Obviously, the intent here isn't to confuse, but that's simply what we're required to do with the way this question is put to the voters on the ballot.
That's correct.
For reasons that we may not understand, but that's what we have to do. All right, Vice Mayor, you still have got your hand up. I don't know if that was a leftover. Okay. We should acknowledge that we appreciate the extra time from the Rock River Town Council that's gone into this from our last meeting, and the county commissioners that have worked with us, both of whom have worked with us, the county and the town, closely on this and trying to put it together. I know they're going to work with us moving forward to support this this effort and to make sure that we've got that critical revenue. Let's see if there's any comment from the millions in attendance. As Councilmember Authority has pointed out, there is not. We will close the public comment period. We go to council one more time, and we go to the city clerk for the roll call vote. We'll give her the half-second delay time, and let's have the roll call vote, please.
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Authority.
Yes.
Fiscal.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Ver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk and Council. That motion carries, and that's going to bring us to the next item on our agenda. Item number 18. I'm going to call on Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to clarify something with the city clerk before I read this. And should it read, I move to approve?
Correct. Yes.
Correct.
That's what I thought. So I will read it that way. I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Laramie and the University of Wyoming to provide community services for SARS-CoV-2 testing and community outreach for public health, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Schuster, just a half second before the Vice Mayor. Councilmember Schuster with the second. And am I going to go to COO Brown for the background?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Yes, Mayor. Good evening. This item was kind of brought forth by Councilor Cumby and Councilor Pierce, and so I will summarize, and I'm sure they can give you lots of background on this also. So they're wanting to continue the testing at the wastewater treatment plant and have a this was being done by the state. It's no longer being done by the state. The same Dr. Bishop who actually did the testing is trying to continue the testing, and they need some bridge funding in order to continue the testing until they can get some grants. They're trying to get a partnership to continue the testing at the wastewater treatment plant. They'll be doing testing, several samples, and also they are providing the city and the public with statistical analysis of really where we're at and where our trends are. So, instead of just looking at the raw data, you could look at, okay, we're a green or it's a red. It's where we're at and really what's happening, and so that the public can really see where we're trending on the COVID-19 and I think this is a partnership among the university, and I think that the public health and different people are trying to come together to bring this to the community. So hopefully I've overviewed this, and I did put a lot in the cover sheet, but I would be happy to hand this over to Councilor Cumby and Councilor Pierce, who actually met with the doctor and have been more involved than I have.
Excellent summary for us, Malia, and I appreciate the information that you put into the cover sheet for us, and it gives a really good summary of it. We've got hands up from Councilmember Somerville, but Councilmember Somerville, I think I should probably go to the Vice Mayor and Councilmember Cumby to see if they wanted to add anything to this, the way that COO Brown invited. Would you like to add anything else, Councilmember Cumby? You have talked to us, you've given us a pretty good breakdown of this fairly recently, but.
Yes, and we're also working with Albany County Public Health, giving them this data, and then working with the metrics that are pulled by the CDC and also COVID Act Now. And those metrics look at the rate of infection, hospitalization for COVID specifically, and then they test everyone who's admitted to the hospital for COVID and its number of patients who happen to have it when they're admitted to the hospital. And they put those metrics together. I did have the opportunity to review Dr. Bishaw's results from the end of May, and the wastewater results indicated a spike in the presence of the COVID bacteria in the wastewater, and about 10 days later, we went into the yellow zone or caution. So we were able to see a correlation of about 10 days where the spike was seen in the wastewater, and then about 7 to 10 days later, we began to see it in infections reported within the community. So it may not be so urgent when we're at a low risk to moderate, but if later toward the end of the summer we start moving to where there is a higher risk, it really gives us a tool that we can follow as a very valuable metric. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cumby. Vice Mayor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think the reason we're doing this, the end result, because once the metrics are determined by the scientists and the community, we're going to attempt to use some sort of a public awareness campaign or a way to let the community know that we are, everything's really good and our numbers are low and carry on as usual, right? Or in the other side of the case, if we see a real increase in these numbers, put the mask on, take some precautions, have that activity outside instead of inside, and use, your best good judgment on what you personally seem to want to practice in this arena. So, and this funding is really minimal. It's just a little bit of a bridge funding to get a few other ducks in a row so we can continue with this. And I think the funds are coming through the feds or potentially through the pass through the state, if I'm not mistaken, and Councilor Covey can help me out. But it's just a little bit of money to kind of fill the gap for the interim, and then move into the fall with other funds.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Councilmember Cumby saying yes to confirm your information regarding the source of the funding. I've got Councilmember Somerville waiting to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think this question is for COO Brown. I think this is great, very supportive, but the question is on how we're paying for it. We're pulling $10,000 from the council public information budget and $20,000 from the wastewater budget. So I have two questions. First, is that the enterprise portion of the wastewater budget, or is that general funds?
Wastewater budget is for sewer, since it's testing the sewer. So because of that, we're taking it out of the professional and consulting and sewer fund. And I'm trying to get it into this year. So I'll transfer $9,000 of your travel budget to the public info budget, because you only have a 1,000. So I figured the rest could come from your public, because part of it's testing and part of it's public information. So I felt that we could take it out of public information and transfer the travel that you guys aren't using.
Mayor, if I can, with my second question. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because my question was going to be, can't we just take this $30,000 out of the wastewater budget in its entirety? As it's a public health piece connected to sewer and wastewater. I mean, if we have money that we didn't use for travel that we can use, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if we could just do it out of the wastewater budget. That would be more appropriate. Let's take the whole thing out of there.
I think the councilors, through you, Mayor, it was just mainly because of the public information piece, and setting up the public information piece, we broke it out and felt we had money there. It's either way, I don't think it matters for me, but that's why we did it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Somerville. Second thoughts, Councilmember Harrington, or would you like to speak? Okay, all right. I just want to say a couple of things about this. First of all, I want to thank Councilmember Cumby for her continued leadership on this public health issue that nobody wants to continue to be dealing with, but we really just can't say enough about what the leadership that you've shown on this issue, along with the Vice Mayor, and how you guys have the two of you, members of this council, have pursued this. With respect to the funding, I think it's appropriate for the council to provide some dollars moving around some unused travel money into the kind of public outreach and awareness, as this is somewhat of a council-driven initiative. That makes sense to me, Councilmember Somerville, in response to some of your inquiries about that. That does seem to be an appropriate source of funding here. And the last thing I'd like to say is there are a lot of communities that aren't in the fortunate position of being able to do this, and there are a lot of communities that are really concerned about the lack of information given the shift that's gone on in terms of the data that's available now compared to what was available before. And I happened to be listening to a meeting today with folks from the FDA and the CDC, and all the talk about needing to prepare for what's coming with respect to how we're going to monitor and deal with this issue later this summer. It's not even into the fall. It's really just a few weeks away that people think we're going to need to be refocusing on how we're going to monitor and manage. That's 6 to 7 weeks away, certainly 8, and certainly into the fall. And I think we're going to be glad that this was a plan that was put into place, and we're going to be glad that Councilmember Cumby and the Vice Mayor had the foresight to work with partners at the university to set this up now and move it forward. And I think it's a perfectly acceptable use of those funds, and I think we're going to benefit from having this information available for ourselves and the public moving forward. So I'll leave it there, but I think it's a good move. Of course, I'll be voting yes. Let's see if members of the public would like to make comments. There are none. I may stop calling on that, but I think procedurally I'm required to. If you wonder why I do that, I think you always have to go, just in case someone comes out of nowhere at the last second. Councilmember Harrington has changed his mind and would like to speak on the topic. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I just thought it more appropriate to wait. I just wanted to thank the Vice Mayor and Councilor Cumby. As you did, I just wanted to express it as well. Given the state of testing and so many sort of accessibility of at-home tests and the ripple effect of that creating kind of unreliable data, this is a pretty smart way for us to continue to keep in front of things as a community. So I really appreciate them taking the extra effort on this, and I will of course be voting yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington, and I just like to give you a little bit of a ribbing about your speaking decisions. I really can't agree more with what you just said. And we'll go now to a roll call vote, I think, because I don't see other folks waiting to speak. So, City Clerk, may we have the roll call vote?
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Authority.
Yes.
Fiscal.
Yes.
Chester.
Yes.
Ville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Arbor.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Council, that motion carries. We'll now go to item number 19, which is going to be introduced by, I don't remember who, Councilmember Somerville. Councilmember Somerville, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2022-31, adopting an income threshold for the application of needs-based discounts for the Laramie Community Recreation Center memberships and recreation activities, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
So, motion and a second from Councilmember Authority, who will, looks like Assistant City Manager Field. Background, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's good to be here. Just to bring this back, this was postponed from 2 weeks ago based on some information that we were looking for some changes and make sure we had good information as we move through. But the City of Laramie Parks and Recreation Department at the Recreation Center had never offered discounts on memberships. Through the Recreation Center facility analysis, one of the recommendations was to implement some kind of a needs-based discount for memberships to allow more people greater access. And by making that statement, by now offering discounts on memberships, we believe that the Recreation Center amenities are available to a much broader selection of this community. Staff did some research and looked at, and originally has suggested that we do 200% the federal poverty level. And for folks that meet that qualification, they are allowed a 30% discount on memberships and a 50% discount on activities with a $150 cap per year. this was a stepping off point, and I know we've got some amendment in place, but I think I'll leave it at that and be happy to answer any questions we may have at this point.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager. Appreciate that. And we will, I think, go back to Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I would move for a substitution for the resolution document to substitute it for the document entitled Recreation 2022-31 Rec Needs 20 Base Discounts Somerville Amendment.
Second.
There's second. Second from Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Authority, were you seeking recognition?
I just, point of information, is that available to the public? Am I not refreshing properly? I mean, I know what it is because you sent us an email, but for the public, I think it would be nice to have it in this document.
City Clerk's going to share it for the recording of the meeting. And am I correct in Councilmember Somerville, City Clerk, in interpreting that the red language is, of course, what's being proposed as the amendment, and the rest of it remains unchanged? Is that a correct
Mayor, that is correct.
All right. Thank you very much. And Councilmember Authority, thank you for pointing this out, but I think this will be a sufficient way to address that information concern. Okay, Councilmember Somerville, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So first I want to just start off by thanking Assistant City Manager Fieser for time and a lot of discussion on this item. For me, it's incredibly important that we're reaching the folks in our community and giving them opportunities in all of the socioeconomic situations to access the rec center and physical activity and all of those good things. So after some discussion, there was a couple of things that really became apparent to me. One was, although I would love to do a tiered system with different discounts based on different income levels, at this time, that is probably too complicated for the city of Laramie to carry out initially. And so the Assistant City Manager kind of won me over on just doing a single discount for right now and then collecting data to bring a report back to the City Council. So I'm asking for the council to consider a 50% discount instead of a 30% discount as part of this substitution. There's a couple of things that came into my mind regarding that. The first being, we already offer discounts, depending on who you work for. And I felt like we needed to make it actually accessible and affordable. And if you look at the attachment that has all of the daily admission, 20 punch pass, all the prices that are on there, with the data that I had, the 50% discount still looks like it's going to cover like a daily admission cost for us. So hopefully we're not losing money on that side, but again, would make that more accessible. And then the second piece, the data collection, I think is really important, because one of the things that has frustrated me during this process is that we just don't have the data that we probably need to design more tailored social service type programming where we're providing access to all of our residents. And I think that data collection in terms of how many people are using this program and what that looks like could be invaluable. And then, of course, the last piece is I certainly have no desire to put the rec center further in the hole. So, and it was not really possible to forecast a revenue loss, what that would be, or if it might occur based on conversations with city staff. So I think that 6-month timeframe report is important to evaluate the program and evaluate potential revenue loss or what that looks like. Mayor, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Somerville. Any questions for Councilmember Somerville's amendment, Vice Mayor Pierce?
Yeah, and this could also be for our Assistant City Manager, but the original proposal was a 30% discount based on 200% of the poverty level, and the amendment is changing it to a 50% discount based on 200%, or qualifying those folks that qualify at the 200% of the federal poverty level. Am I understanding that right?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Vice Mayor Pierce, that's correct. Is that the original one was 30% off of memberships with 50% off of activities. And I don't believe that was clear in the original amendment. And this one is 50% off memberships and 50% off activities for qualified individuals that meet the 200% federal poverty level.
Okay. And what is the federal poverty level right now?
So the census, Honorable Mayor, through you to Vice Mayor, I got to get my information back open real quick. So based on the Albany County reported U.S. Census is $51,362 per year is, and $29,644 per capita make our income levels generally low. So 200% of the federal poverty level is right at the $51,000 mark. Our scale that we had proposed, Nancy.
I'm sorry, Assistant City Manager, that would be for a family?
That's right, for family of 4. So if you look at the 200% federal poverty level for a family size of 1 is 25,000, for a family of 4 is 53,016, which is a little bit more than the U.S. Census figures right now.
Vice Mayor.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think it's important to point out that these figures and this information are probably based largely on 2019 and 2020 figures, and are very unlikely to have included cost of living increases that have occurred since that time. Other questions? Okay. Why don't we see? There's public comment. Council members, there's not. We'll be back here. Any other questions for the Assistant City Manager or comments regarding the proposal? All right, I'll say this. I support this, and I support the changes to the figures. I think, you know, when we're talking about issues of income, those are tough for a lot of people right now, certainly in our community. I think sometimes we fail to recognize that access to things like recreation and exercise facilities are really important. Not everyone is going to be able to go down and buy memberships at some of the exercise clubs and associations, and anything we can do to encourage that type of activity and make it more accessible for people is probably a good move. I like the fact that we're going to revisit this and take a look at what the overall impact is going to be. In my hopes and dreams, I hope that what we make up for will be by increased volume of people coming in to use the rec center and their kids coming in to use. I don't know if we'll be that lucky, but we'll look to see what those numbers look like, and I'm going to support this. And I think it's a good move. I appreciate the extra work from the Assistant City Manager, the folks at the rec center on this. Councilmember Authority.
I just have a point of information. So we still have to vote on the amendment, right? And then we'll vote on the resolution. Thank you.
Was it not an amendment by substitution? Wasn't that the motion that was made? City Clerk.
That is correct. It was a motion to amend by substitution, but we do need to vote on that amendment before we go back to the main motion.
Yeah, that's an interesting process that we use for amendment by substitution. So it will only be what we're voting on now, but we'll vote affirmatively on it twice. Any other discussion? And, Councilmember Authority, I guess for the sake of understanding, I think, you know, we probably will not have people make the same comments again after the discussion on the round. We'll just have the 2 votes. Why don't we do that now? City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Fiscal.
Yes.
Stir.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Beaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk and Council. That amendment has been approved. That motion is carried. We're back on the main motion now. And seeing as how the attendee list hasn't changed, I won't go back to public comment, and I will go to the city clerk for the roll call vote on the main motion as amended.
B.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Eckel.
Yes.
Stir.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Ver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Council. That motion carries. And we will now move to the next portion, the agenda. Public comments are none. There are no attendees waiting to make further public comment. Go back to the agenda. As the public comments go back to the agenda, and we'll take a look at consideration of future council work session topics. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if this warrants an entire work session or not, but it would fall under a revision to the Code of Conduct. I would be interested in modifying our public comment section to exclude campaigning during our public comment period. I don't know what the rest of council would think of something like that, but I, again, don't know if it warrants a work session or if I should just work on it with the with city staff and bring it forward and then see what you all think. I'm not sure what the best pathway forward is.
To be clear, what you're talking about, Councilmember Harrington, is if folks in attendance at our meetings that are making public comment have comments that drift into the area of electioneering in their comments towards us, which, let's be honest, folks, we've had some problems with in the past, not with anyone that's on the meeting right now. I'd like to emphasize that we have had some problems with in the past. I wonder, Councilmember Harrington, if that's more a matter of adherence to the code of conduct as written, or if it needs a change. I'm not sure. Would you like to add it to your question is to add it to a discussion? I'm not sure where in the near future that would fit into a work session, so that the topic was timely is my only concern about that.
Well, yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I don't know that it's expressly spelled out. I think, on the same token, beyond electioneering, we would also, I personally would like to avoid sort of like public comments for like commercial benefit. In our, we don't want to sort of set up a megaphone for a business to come, make their pitch to us a couple times a week. So, I think there are some things that we're well within our rights to not allow. Obviously, those would be always enforced by the mayor. But I don't know.
Or not enforced by the mayor,
precisely.
depending on the situation. Yeah.
Precisely. But they aren't spelled out now in our code of conduct. So I don't know that warrants an entire work session. This is like a 15-minute conversation. Maybe I should just work with the city attorney and then bring something to you all, if that's best.
Councilmember Harrington, I think that might be a good approach. I don't see anybody opposed to what you're proposing here, and I think I'll just take a stab at this and say that everybody here in the meeting, the council members present, would support that. I wonder if what we might need to do is look at a tweak in the language for public comments, where we say non-agenda items. I believe we should say city-related non-agenda items or city official city business-related, some language to that effect, which has perhaps been lacking in there. I saw a couple of heads nod when I mentioned that. Maybe we need to take a look at that, and that might save us a lot of problems with respect to both of those concerns that you brought. And in the meantime, I hope that I would have the council support in requesting and requiring adherence to our understanding of what of the public comment period is for moving forward until such time as we may make those changes. So I support that. I support Councilmember Harrington's maybe looking at some language that might just clean that up so we don't have to spend too much more time on it. Why don't we do that? Vice Mayor Pierce? Can't hear you, Vice Mayor, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I agree. And I think just working with our city attorney to make sure that we don't cross into any free speech, perhaps, issues or something. We don't get ourselves in any hot water. I think I'm perfectly okay with Councilor Harrington just speaking with our city attorney and coming up with some language, because it did get last election season, it got, to the point of being pretty ridiculous. So we don't want to go down that road again.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Like I said, Council, with your support, I have no intention of that being the case for the remainder of this year anyway. Anything else on this? Any other work session topics anybody wants to bring up? Any other work session topics? No? Okay. I'll close that for now. And council members, that was a long meeting with a lot of items, and I really thank everybody for their comments. And Councilmember Authority's doing it to me where she waits. I saw her hesitant hand, and then she waited, and then she raised it again. Councilmember Authority.
It's because I was waiting for you to talk about upcoming meetings. Sounded like you were signing off. So
I was about to be signing off. Upcoming meetings, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
A comment. I thought that I heard Mr. Webb say that we needed to have some things signed. I know that if this grant goes through or something, that we need to get things moving. So I thought we might need a special meeting next week. So I was just checking.
Great. And I think Malia Brown touched on that as well, but I think it was the next regular meeting that they were referencing. Is City Clerk, do you know what do you know what Councilmember Authority is referencing here? Do we have City Manager Jordan perhaps would like to help us out?
Mayor, no, I didn't have my hand raised for this item.
Okay, City Clerk, was there a timing issue on one of those items, the public works items that we talked about? I remember I heard making sure that we got it addressed by the next regular meeting, but is there a need for a special meeting?
I think there was a little bit of stumbling in the wording during that item, but the meaning that I took from COO Brown was that it is the next regular meeting. So I think they're okay with that. She can correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's the way I understood it.
Yes, Mayor, it's the next regular meeting will bring the item on.
Thank you both. I think Councilor Doherty just wants to make sure that we're not leaving people in the lurch, and if there's a need for a special meeting, we wanted to work it out now. I appreciate it, Councilmember Doherty. City Manager Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just thought I'd close out the meeting by reminding you all, and of course the public, if we had them here with us at this late hour, that we will be welcoming to town, probably starting tomorrow, a couple hundred municipal government officials from around Wyoming for the annual Wyoming Association of Municipalities Conference. So we are happy to have them. I know I'll see many council members and City of Laramie staff as well over the next few days, and just thought I'd put that out there as a reminder and share our excitement basically to finally host after originally supposed to be hosting in 2020, but delayed because of COVID.
Thank you, City Manager Jordan. We appreciate that very much. And the city staff has put a lot of work into that. We know it's been some work. And so no doubt your efforts are going to pay off hosting for those visitors for WAMP. Yes, so I appreciate everyone's work tonight, making it through a pretty lengthy agenda. And we will go to item number 22, for which I'm going to call on Councilmember Sheets.
Okay, I think it was me. I hate to say a lot of the voices are getting garbled up tonight, but I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's a motion to adjourn, a second from Councilmember Somerville. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Both.
Aye.
All right, take that hand.